Greetings everyone, Jonathan here from Plagiarism Today, and today I want to talk about ad laundering. It's a term that I used in my article yesterday about targeting the money stream of piracy sites, and it's a term I really kind of want to explain in greater detail today because I hadn't seen it anywhere before I penned it in that article. Someone probably said it before me, but I hadn't seen it, so I wanted to talk about what I see as ad laundering. Basically, when we're talking about ad laundering, we have to go back and talk about money laundering. Money laundering is an act where you take money that is obtained through an illegal means, say like drug money, and then you pass it through a series of intermediaries, and it comes out the other side looking like legitimate income. So, for example, if you earned millions of dollars of drug revenue, you might launder that money through a bunch of investment houses and banks until it comes out the other side mysteriously looking like investment income or interest earned on something or something like that. So that way, this is money that goes from being, a hot potato that you can't really do as much with to being money you can spend freely. And, of course, every stop along the way is going to take a cut of the money. That's how they earn their profits. But the bottom line is it's all about taking money and separating it from its source. And that's exactly what ad laundering is doing. It takes an ad and separates it from its source. So, for example, you see an ad on a site that you wouldn't want the ad on, or maybe the advertiser itself wouldn't want the ad on, like Netflix, for example, as an ad on a piracy site, or any other non-porn site that is illicit or undesirable in nature. Netflix is extremely far removed from that process. And let me explain what I mean by that. You see, Netflix doesn't actually buy ads themselves, especially online. In fact, let's just be honest, no one realistically buys ads directly from sites these days. Unless you're a site like YouTube or maybe Google itself or Bing or a major search engine or a major portal, you really can't command the presence and the size to get advertisers to talk to you directly. So they go through ad networks, which is how all this thing kind of shakes out, because you got the advertiser, and then in turn says, well, we don't want to actually deal with our advertising directly. We're in the business, if you're Netflix, of streaming movies. So we'll hire an ad agency. Ad agency says, we'll do all that print and we'll do that video stuff, but we're really not an online business. So we'll subcontract that out to an online advertising agency. The online advertising agency says, well, we'll do the design and the targeting, but we really don't want to deal directly with any of the sites. So we're going to hire an online agency. An ad network. That ad network says, well, we actually partner with a whole bunch of smaller ad networks that do the business directly with the site. So then you got another ad network in between. They do business directly with the site. So then you have the site, including the undesirable site that we're talking about here. So you got all of these steps between the big advertiser and the site where it appears. And what this means is that when an ad, like for example a Netflix ad, appears somewhere that it shouldn't, for example, alongside pirated copies of movies, there's all of these degrees of separation between Netflix and the ad, and that blame for it gets divided up so many different ways that everyone's effectively blameless in it. No one is actually held accountable for it. The blame for it is laundered along the chain so that by the time it gets back up to Netflix, they appear totally blameless, and in many ways they are. So why is it this way? Well, the reason is this way is quite simple. Buying ads on the internet is very, very difficult, surprisingly difficult. Say you wanted to do a major ad run in newspapers, going old school. Even if you did it nationwide, you're probably not looking at buying more than, say, 50 to 100 newspapers. That's a lot of newspapers, but it's a job that's very much doable by one or a small group of people. One person or a small group of people. So any ad agency can pretty much handle that. Well, say you want to do a major ad buy on TV, you want to get a couple million impressions. Well, you're probably only talking to a few major networks. Or if you want to actually just do a cross cable buy, there's still probably less than 1,000 stations you have to worry about. So TV buy is a little bit more complicated, potentially. Not always, though. But the bottom line is it's still easier than internet, because with internet, to get a large, massive audience like these big advertisers want, they have to buy across thousands, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of websites in some cases. It's a pretty huge process, especially if they want diverse, demographics and who's viewing those ads. So they have to have all these layers to kind of deal with the complexity of it. And the side effect of that is that whenever an ad appears where it shouldn't, the blame for it is laundered. There's no way to hold anyone effectively accountable. It's just that ad drops from the top and it kind of disappears into an ether of responsibility for it. It's very, very bizarre. And I mean, trust me, I've actually talked to friends of mine who work for doing ad buys for like Blue Cross Blue Shield, and found out years ago that they don't really control what TV shows their ads on. I was kind of, ribbing him a little bit because I saw his ad once on daytime television. It was appearing in front of the Jerry Springer show. I saw the ad stop. Jerry Springer came on. I was like, okay, I got to get him about that. And he's like, well, we don't really control what TV shows. That's, another tier down. And that's with TV buys, which I just said are much more simple. So the question people often ask, though, is why is it these Netflix ads, these big ads, oftentimes appear on these piracy sites or these other illicit sites, but not on porn sites? How are they able to control that? Well, the answer is actually quite simple. Porn sites have their own network of ad networks that's completely separate and doesn't really touch the more mainstream advertising network. And there's a lot of reasons for that. The big ones being legal. There's a lot of headaches that come with putting porn ads on non-porn sites. And so they tend to separate those out pretty cleanly and clearly. And also, mainstream advertisers don't want to appear on porn sites. And frankly, porn sites don't want mainstream ads because those ads don't do well on porn sites. They want money from their ads. So long story short, the reason that these ads do not appear on porn sites, usually because there's just no way. They're two totally separate ad networks, ad structures. Porn, in that regard, the porn internet is almost a separate internet unto itself. So, that being said, basic concept of ad laundering explained. Until tomorrow, this is Jonathan Bailey, signing off.